Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Mythology Monday. Today we're going to start a new series where I'm going to be talking about the different mythologies and like legends, myths, stories and that, which I am incorporating into my series, The Head, the Heart, and the Heir, and my world of Torian as a whole. And so how I'll be doing that is discussing in some cases I'll be discussing the mythology in various depths, and in other cases where it's just a little story or a snippet of something that I'm using, I will be a little more brief and add a couple of them together. To start with, we're going to talk about Arthurian Legends. So this is a book on Arthurian Legends that I read, and I'm pretty sure I did a book review of. It was a lot of fun. There's some really beautiful images. Let me find one. Here we go. There's some really beautiful pictures in this book, and it has all the really main stories about how Arthur founded the Round Table and his knights and that kind of thing. Did you know the Round Table is actually a gift from Guinevere's father-in-law gave him the Round Table? Thought that was kind of fun. But so how do Arthurian legends play into the head, the heart, and the heir? Well, obviously they play into the part for the line of Merlin. But there are a lot of other aspects of Arthurian legends that have made their way into the world of Torian through the characters and actions and things like that you might not realize. So first off, the names. I have a King Arthur, but unlike the Arthurian legends, my King Arthur is like a psychotic evil guy, and we don't like him. He's an asshole. So we don't like King Arthur in The Head, the Heart, and the Heir, whereas Arthur was the whole point of Arthurian legends. I also have Ginevra, whose name is the Old English or Germanic version of Jennifer, but Ginevra and Gwendolyn are very similar to each other, so I've got that in there. And then lastly, of course, we have Merlin, who is the founder of my sorcerer line of Merlin, and so he matters a lot in my story as well. I'm just gonna put this book behind me here so I can keep pointing it for you. Ah, it's right there. Actually, no, let's put it higher up by my head. There we go, that's lovely. So those are some major parts in there. There's also important symbolism in my book, which you also find in Arthurian legends, such as a sword. Now, in Arthurian legends, the sword and the stone was what decided who would be king, and in my book, the important sword is the sword that Aaron's older brother had, and we find out why it matters to Dayton specifically later on, and you learn that that sword is actually the sword that is held by who will be the king, so the heir to the throne. And so the day that Aaron is given his father's sword so the day that Aaron is given his brother's sword is a very significant day to him in the book series as well, and is why his brother's sword is such an important part to him as well. Another thing that is similar to the sword and the stone version of the Arthurian Legends, so the Disney movie, is the reluctant royal. In my book, Aaron is the spare who became the heir. So he was the second born, was never supposed to become king, and is now up for the throne because of his brother's death. So he is very much a reluctant royal. He was not born for the job of king, and he frankly doesn't want it, or didn't want it, we should say. He's accepting it because it's what he has to do, but he wasn't born for this, he wasn't made for this, and we see that a lot in the way that he acts, in the way that he will plan to rule, and just in his personality. He very much is a lot kinder and more negotiating than you would typically expect from a king. His father is very commanding, says what he thinks, demands what he expects of people, whereas Aaron is more of a negotiator, so it's not something his father believes is actually going to be beneficial to him as king, which is something he has to overcome. Both stories have a prophecy of a great king, but only if. So in Arthurian legends, you have the prophecy of the great king who can get the sword out of the stone, and in The Head, the Heart, and the Heir, we have, like the Cassandra line has seen, there will be a great king of Dayton, but there are stipulations on that as well. I'm not going to tell you because you have to read the book to find out. But yeah, there are ties that to be the great king, you must have this thing. Also, going back to the Ginevra-Arthur aspect in Arthurian legend, Ginevra is the one who cheated on Arthur and ran off with his best friend, whereas in my story, Ginevra is actually a perfect wife and mother, and is like the epitome of motherhood. Like, she is perfect in regards to being a parent here, which is completely different than in the Arthurian legend, so I like to spin those things around. And lastly, Merlin in Arthurian legends was an advisor to the king, and while there are different advisors to Aaron and the royals and that in all of The Head, the Heart, and the Heir, Aaron does have Majestai, and he is the grandson of Merlin. So he's got his own Merlin, just a different spin on it, running around giving him advice and helping him with that. And he also gets it from Alex, as Alex is the granddaughter of Merlin. So it's kind of fun in that or great-granddaughter and great-grandson, I should say. But it's kind of fun because he gets a new generation of Merlin as his advisor, whereas in Arthurian Legends, he got the actual Merlin. So yeah, and some of these things actually, I'll be honest, I didn't even notice until after I'd written it. The sword, for example, I was like, oh, they both have really important swords. That's kind of funny. So things like that you don't even notice or realize are happening can find their way into your story sometimes just from the things that you've read and explored. So I'm a big fan of Arthurian Legends. I love the stories. I love the knights going on these grand adventures and that. So it is definitely a big influence for me when I was writing what my characters are going to get up to and when they start going on their giant journeys and adventures. So definitely keep reading because there's so much more to come in The Head, the Heart, and the Heir. I can't even tell you because I'm working on book 4 right now and that would be major spoilers. But yeah, so I hope you learned something about Arthurian Legends and The Head, the Heart, and the Heir, and happy reading and happy Mythology Monday. Bye.